Good morning, everyone. Thank you for getting up early on a Saturday. It is my absolute pleasure to share the next, I think we only have 40 minutes, so the next 40 minutes with all of you. My goal today is if you have an Echo, and by the way, I'm saying Echo now because I'm going to say Alexa a ton. So make sure you mute any echoes that you may have around you, or we'll start having a conversation back and forth with her. My goal today is to get you up to speed on what does it mean to have a voice-driven experience. What I'm going to show you, and we're actually going to code live a very quick skill to show you how to build that for Alexa. What I'm going to show you today, you can apply to everything with conversational UI. It doesn't have to just be Alexa, but I want everybody to, regardless of whether you've done this before, to be on the same page. So I'm going to start off and I'm going to give you a little background, and then we're going to walk through, and then we're going to end with actually building this. Sound good? Okay. Some contact info for me. If we've never met before, it does not have to be the last time. You can hit me up on Twitter at @TheDaveDev. My email at Amazon is just my last name, so Isbitski@Amazon.com. I do have a podcast where I do interview people from the Alexa developer community as well as internally at Amazon. You're free to check that out. There's a bit.ly there, Alexa Dev Chat, or just look for it on your favorite podcasting app. So if you do not have an Echo, or maybe you just got a new Echo, for me this was a this was a journey too. I remember first getting it and saying, are we really at this point where we could just have conversations with machines? I was used to IVR systems. You always hit 0 to get to an operator. I couldn't, maybe chatbots, I could kind of talk a little informally, but never a machine understanding me the way that Dave talks. And I talk very weird, right? So there has been a tremendous amount of innovation. And the way to think about this is there's always waves of technology when it comes to interface. I've been blessed enough to have seen and taken part in all of these so far in my career. I can remember DOS. I can remember Commodore Amiga terminal days up through Windows and then the web and mobile. And we really are in this voice user interface era. And all of this has happened because of the cloud and advancements in machine learning, deep neural networks. You'll hear terms like NLU, natural language understanding, the ability for machines to understand how conversation can flow and be able to respond very human-like. So it's kind of this exponential chart that has been occurring. And so at Amazon, we believe that voice represents the next major disruption in computing. And so we've created 2 SDKs. These SDKs, we just hit July 2015 is when we actually released these. So it has been 2 years now that we've had these. The first SDK that you can see on the left is to teach Alexa new skills, much in the same way that you may learn how to play baseball, or you may learn about another sport or a game or something like that. You can teach her how to do things. And this will work across all Alexa devices. So Alexa on phones, Alexas, and Echoes, and Fire TV and Kindle. It'll work across that entire any range of hardware and software. And then on the right is the ability to put Alexa into things. So that's Alexa Voice Service, or AVS. So you can Alexa enable a car, a refrigerator, a home, or a speaker. You may have seen some of the recent Sonos announcements. So all of this happens by having Alexa available through our cloud. So that all of the Alexa goodness sits up in AWS, has automated speech recognition, so the ability to understand when a human being is talking, as well as the ability to process language, or NLU. And so I'm going to cover the Alexa Skills Kit today and talk a little bit of that, and we'll actually create a skill on the fly. When we released the Echo, so this is going back, believe it or not, to November 2014, we released Echo with a bunch of built-in functionality. And if you've had a device, you may have seen this before, the ability to ask for jokes and ask for weather, things like that. Now, over time, Alexa has grown. She understands more. We've exposed that through our SDKs, and we have the ability to go ahead and teach these skills. So we are now over 20,000 skills. And this, let me put up a slide here. This ranges from everything you're seeing here, from brand names to independent developers creating games like the Magic Door, which my kids love, there's other kids skills now too. We just launched official skill for kids. So things like Elmo, Sesame Street, Dora the Explorer, to ordering a Domino's pizza. So all of that gives you the ability to just have a conversation around voice. This is just a screenshot I picked from late last night just to kind of show you the screen. You can get to this on Amazon at amazon.com/skills. You can browse just like you can any other Amazon product. You'll see some of these skills have well over 1,000 ratings. As a developer, you can respond directly to Amazon customers here like you could with any other product, as well as browse by categories. And so if this is your first skill and you're thinking about creating conversational UI, where does this fit in when I'm talking about a voice experience? And the way to think of this is in terms of utility. And I don't mean utility as in what Dave thinks, like how I would rate something. What I mean is the amount of time it would take a human being to do that. So let's, for example, look at the right. If we're going to browse a whole bunch of information, let's say, for example, search, or maybe we want to do some online shopping. Nothing beats a web browser or mobile for that. We've designed these visual interfaces over decades. We have the ability to collapse information, to tab it. It's very easy to get and drill down to where you need. Try having a conversation about that, right? And then we move up this chart, right? So telling. You may, if you've used an Echo device, the ability to do, ask for a joke, you get a joke, or tell me a cat fact, right? It's just this quick information lookup. And so there becomes more utility for that with voice. Now, identifying a specific piece of information, right? Searching. So I happen to be a Pearl Jam fan. If I wanted to get Pearl Jam tickets for this weekend, I could ask. And in this case, vendor is just the name of a skill. And then we're going to get specific tickets and money ranges, right? Or this could be reorder too. I mean, you may have done this through Amazon. I reorder batteries all the time. We seem to, it's like water in my house. We just go through batteries like mad. So I'll be, Alexa, reorder batteries, and that will be pulled up very quickly. So there's utility. That's even faster than me going to the Amazon mobile app or the web browser. And then doing a task. If you have smart home enabled, so for me, I could actually do this. This will be cool if you guys see this. Alexa, turn off basement.
Okay.
And you'll see the light just on my office went off. Alexa, turn on basement.
Okay.
All right, so now you'll see that light going. These are like office lights that I have over here. But same thing, I could set the temperature in my house, all of that. That's a very quick performing task. And so when you're thinking about voice first, it's voice. You don't have to get rid of mobile and web. It's what do you think a normal human being would want to do very quickly, and where would voice benefit that? Now, the expectation, we're 2 years in with these skills, the expectation from customers is if this is a skill that you create, that it's going to evolve over time. So if it is a, like you see a lot of games that have cool stories. If you're not updating with new stories all the time, that skill, the engagement with it will quickly go down. And so I'm going to show you an example here. Let's say we want to launch something for traffic. Everybody's got to commute. It's a Saturday, so hopefully you're not commuting in today. But you go ahead and I say something like, Alexa, launch Travel Buddy. Now, Travel Buddy, notice it's a friendly name. Everybody can pronounce it. It's not like Isbitski's Travel Locator or something like that. So Alexa, launch Travel Buddy. And you want to make the language as informal and human-like as you can. So we give you the ability to not only speak in English, UK English, and German. We give you the ability for her to accent how she's going to do emphasis. You can change inflection. You can do audio clips. You can even have her whisper if you want her to go ahead and whisper a piece of that sentence. And we also have speech cons. So if you say something like bazinga, she'll be like bazinga. So you really want to think about making it human language. It's not just text on a screen. So it would be something like, hi, I'm Travel Buddy. I can easily tell you about your daily commute. let's get you set up. Where are you starting from? So notice there's no I didn't find your preferences, or you get sent to it. It's a conversation like you would have with a person. We don't say what's your destination or your source. We say stuff like, where are you coming from? Where are you going to? And here's a little trick. One of the things we do on the Alexa team is, as we're testing things out, not everybody has a design lab, right? So just have somebody call you. You do a little role playing and pretend that you are Alexa, and you can record the conversation and have them over the phone. It's funny, I'm holding it like it's an old handset. It's probably an iPhone, right? So it'd be like this. Have them talk to you like you're Alexa, and they don't know how they're supposed to go ahead and ask for things, but you do. You know what you'll respond to. And it's amazing how people will ask for stuff. Just in that little thing, you'll pick up a bunch of information about the type of questions you should be looking for to answer. So I'm coming from Las Vegas, and where am I going? I'm going to Los Angeles, and then I get a bunch of information here. Now, what you're noticing on the left, this is a voice flow diagram. Now, this may look like what you've seen in web or mobile, but what's different here, notice I'm branching out based on conversation. So it's the interactions when I'm expecting an answer. And what I've done is I've actually divided source and location into 2 questions. Now, if that was a web form or a mobile app, we'd probably do that in one screen, right? It would be input, or travel input. But it's important not to overwhelm a human being with too many questions when you're having a conversation. So when you start doing that testing, whether it's over the phone or it's in person, or we actually have a testing tool where you can invite real human beings to use your skill before you've launched it publicly, it's important to go ahead and figure out what these branches are. So I get, great, now whenever you ask, I can tell you about the commute. The current drive time is 4 hours and 42 minutes. And notice I have another piece of information for accident information. Now, if I run this at a later date, this is an example of automatic learning. Just like if we're having a conversation in real life and we introduce each other, and the next time we meet, maybe you forgot my name's Dave, it's awkward for you to ask that, right? There's social norms around conversation. There's the same expectation now with voice conversations with AI. And so the next time I run this, you should remember the questions I told you before. If you ask me about my commute again, that's a no-no, right? So you want to learn about my commute. And if I give you more information, you should start to learn what my preferences are. You should always, get permission to make sure. So don't automatically enable things. I'll give you some examples. Sometimes skills have new features. So every once in a while, it's not every time, you'll run the skill and Alexa will say, hey, did you know I could also include traffic information? Would you like me to do that from now on? And you could say yes or no. And if I say no, don't bug me again, right? So that's an example of automatic learning. And also, remember that high utility, that tell? Look how quick I got my answer. Alexa launched Travel Buddy, and I got commute time. So very, very quick interaction. And so there's some key design principles around this you should think about. These are based off of customer reviews on Amazon.com and what we've seen within skills. And I've already talked about high value and over time. I want you to concentrate also on speaking naturally and spontaneously. So when I talked about making Alexa sound human, using speech synthesis, I'm going to show you some SSML, speech synthesis markup language you can do. So doing things like that. Making sure, if you have an echo and somebody asks you, why do you like talking to Alexa? Your brain, you may not be able to verbalize it right away, but eventually you'll get to, it just understands when you're asking. You didn't have to remember how to ask Alexa for a specific artist. She just knew. And then a skill should always respond in an appropriate way. Don't be spewing out error messages or other quirky things, which did happen in the early days. We have when you're ready to give your skill to the world, we do have a certification process with a design team that actually looks at that and helps you. So don't worry, you do have people looking to try and help and guide if you've missed something. So it is an appropriate way, and you'll meet customer expectations. The last thing we want for you is to launch your skill and you get all these horrible reviews because of some technical thing that you didn't catch. So there's a process that happens too. Okay, so how it works. we got our Echo device on the left. We have the Alexa service in the middle, sitting up in Amazon's cloud, up in AWS. We have this developer portal. So everything I'm showing you today, this is the easiest way to remember. You already know Amazon.com. You may go up there and shop. If you want anything developer related, it's just developer.amazon.com. That's it. And you'll see all the links to Alexa stuff. You'll see links to all sorts of stuff. So everything I'm showing you today, you'll see up there. There's tutorials and links to GitHub, and you can sign up for a newsletter. So it's just developer.amazon.com. And so that's what I mean by the developer portal. That lighter blue is where you're going to host a service. So we live in a world today in October of 2017 where AIs can't talk to each other without developers coming along and helping them communicate. In the future, AIs may be able to discover how to go ahead and talk to each other, and that makes all of our lives easier, right? Give you an example. Maybe I buy a new car and I walk into my home and I'm like, Alexa, figure out how to get my phone talking to my car and make that happen. And it just happens, right? Today, what we do is very similar to mobile. So if you've created a RESTful service, maybe you've done it for the web too, right? Web and mobile, communicating using JSON, JavaScript object notation, that's it. That's how it works today. So that's what I mean by a developer application service. And what I find is 99.9% of people who've already got an app already have this service. You just have to make sure it's secure. So we do require SSL, but that's it. You're just going to communicate back and forth over JSON. And there's a specific format of that JSON object that Alexa expects. And then she's going to spit back at you. That's a horrible sentence, spit back, right? She's going to send you a JSON object as well. So you're just parsing strings, basically. And then you're going to give some information like you would in a regular store, right? The skills store is the same way. You're going to tell me information about who you are, your publisher, how to reach your service, and then you're going to create that interaction model, the contract for your conversation. We call that intense sample utterances. I'm going to walk through what that looks like. So you register through the portal, and it gets registered in the Alexa service. Now, user audio is streamed in real time. So when I say Alexa, Echo, or computer, that audio then begins streaming in real time. Nothing's processed on the device. It's actually parsed. And then that is translated into text. You never get the text either. You just get function calls. So when we set up this contract, I may, like traffic example, right? I may have said, when someone asks for commute, what I care about is commute and destination source. So it looks like a normal RESTful service call. We handle all of the magic of parsing voice spoken words into programmatic data types. And so we call your service using that JSON. You parse it out. You decide how to handle that. And then you send us back what you want Alexa to say. Now remember, make her sound human. You can change the way that she emphasizes things. And then we also have cards. So if you've seen the new Echo devices, we also have the Echo Spot. That's that little one that's coming. If you have a Kindle, if you have a Fire TV, all of these devices, we actually have these render templates. And so you can detect if an Alexa device has a screen. And if it does, you go ahead and display this card data. Otherwise, all Alexa devices will actually speak. So the audio will be generated in the cloud and played on that device. So notice nothing's happening on the actual device. It's all happening in the cloud. And then, of course, there is the cards getting rendered. So that's kind of how it renders. If that looked like a lot of information, this is basically what it looks like, right? So the orange is going to you. So it's being processed in real time. You get a request object is what we call it. You parse the request object. You send the response object. And that's it. All right. So speech recognition. When you hear terms like automatic speech recognition, what does that mean, Dave, right? And this is where the advances have come in. So if I say something like 40 times, now maybe you thought I meant 40 times, right? 40x. But as human beings, it's amazing. Like we all understand context. We all know that it's fall, autumn if you're overseas, right? We know that it's October. We know that hopefully you're home. You know how you're feeling if you've had a cold, if your family's got a cold. All of that context actually goes in the conversation that we're having. And so maybe you're thinking about tea times. So did I say 4 tea times? Or did I ask for 4 tea times? You know, it is the weekend, so maybe you're going out golfing. Like, what's on your mind? You're going to process that sentence differently based on context. And maybe it's 4 tea times. Maybe you got a lot of games today, right? And so that's, you know, things that machines have had to figure out. And then what machines have had to do is they've got to map how those things are said to the context of how they're said to actual functions. Now, we call those functions intents, and the way that we map them, we call utterances. So you may remember growing up with grade school, and the teacher would always say, use a word in a sentence if you didn't understand it. You were training your brain context. So it's the same with AI. So we're going to create an input behavior, and the machine is going to learn from this. So if you're a developer and you've been coding for years, this will kind of blow your mind, because you're like, you think you got to put like 100 of these in, but sometimes you only have to put like 3 or 4. And Alexa will learn just from that. She's building all of the neural networks and everything to figure this stuff out. You're not coding every single scenario. So one of the GitHub templates we have is space facts. You say, tell me a space fact, and then she gives you some trivia about space. And so the one function we have is get new fact intent. So you see that on the left. An utterance always starts out that way. And then on the right, you'll actually see a sentence like a human would speak. So notice there's different verbs here. Sometimes there's different adjectives. So it's just space fact or space trivia, or just fact or trivia. So you're giving her a bunch of different examples so she can figure out what's important in that sentence. And then here is the JSON object, right? It looks like any other JSON object. You get an array of these functions, which we call intents. And then each intent is going to have a behavior that you'll decide what to do in your cloud service. So there's only one intent here, get a new fact intent. So I would get some new information about space. And these other 3 that you see here, you can think of these as events. Anytime you see Amazon dot, that's part of our built-in library. So we know how human beings ask for help. We know how they ask Alexa to stop. Sometimes they'll say, Alexa, shut up, right? We handle all of that. You just know that that function was called, and then you decide how to give help or how to cancel. All right, so what we're going to do now is okay, good, and we're right on time too. So what we're going to do is we're going to configure this stuff live. Everything should be working. I've got a good internet connection. So we're going to configure it in that Amazon developer portal I told you about. And then we're going to go ahead and create a, my brain's not working today, a cloud endpoint. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Lambda. Now, you could use anything you'd like. I love serverless computing. And what Lambda does, if you are a developer, you're gonna love this, because it's basically, let me go up to AWS. It's basically serverless computing. In other words, I can run code and I don't have to set up a compute instance. I don't have to set up storage. I remember when I was like my first professional gig as a developer, and I'm setting up like websites, and they asked me to order a server, and it was like I was ordering like compact something, and I'm like, why am I ordering hardware and worrying about capital costs on a budget? Like, none of that, right? You just want to run code. So I've got some shortcuts up here. If you don't have an AWS account, it's free. Everything that we're going to do with Alexa is free. You get 1 million calls free per month forever as an Alexa developer. And if you go past that, you can actually sign up and get $100 AWS credit as an Alexa developer. And if you ever used AWS, $100 is going to cover a lot every month. Anything past that, you're already making money and successful. And in fact, we do pay developers high engaging skills. You'll see information on our portal. People are making money today with Alexa based on highly engaged skills. So if you've never come into this console before, you're just going to come up here to services, and under compute over here is where you'll see Lambda. Actually, let me turn on. You all can see better. There we go. So Lambda, everybody see that? So that's where I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click. Now, what's great about this is we've set it up in such a way that even if you've never poked around or kicked the tires in Lambda, we have these templates set up for you, so you don't have to worry about it. So I'm going to just click Create Function. And if I type in Alexa here, you're going to see we got a whole bunch of them. We got both Python and Node. Since we're going to do a color picker as an example, and what the color picker is, I ask Alexa what my favorite color is. If she doesn't know, then she's going to go ahead and ask me what it is. I tell her, and then she speaks it back. Oh, speaking of which, I need to turn off these headphones so you can hear her. Hold on. There we go. And then my sound. Output. Okay, internal speakers. We are good. All right, so let's do color picker expert. And we'll just call this one IoT with the best. Roles, don't worry about roles. This is just inside AWS. We have something called IM permissions. So it's basically just a permissions. We're just going to give it basic permission. I already have a basic permission role set up. If you don't have one set up, it's one click. And we'll do Lambda basic. And then you'll see there's a bunch of sample code here. It's just strings. So for example, welcome message. Everybody see this? If we come in and we get a welcome message, let me go back down here. Right here, right? We're going to go ahead. If we don't get any of these, we're just going to play the welcome message, right? What's right here. And then this is where we're capturing the cancel and stop. So let's go ahead and create. And that was it. We've created our function. Maybe we want to mix this up a little bit so you know it's all real. So let's change the welcome message a bit. Welcome, IoT with the best. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and save that. And we're going to create a test event. So this is just all built-in stuff, not doing anything fancy here. I'm just going to call this launch intent. I'm going to cover what this is in a second. And we're going to test just to make sure server side's running. So you can see this is it. So this should, if you ever done a JSON object before, this is basically what's happening. This is the JSON that we're sending Alexa. Welcome IoT with the best to the Alexa Skills Kit sample. Okay. Super simple, just JSON going back and forth. And we want to copy this because we're going to need that later. All right. Let's jump back over here. Now we've created this hosted service. It's in Lambda. Here's cool news. You don't have to worry about an SSL cert. The AWS Lambda service communicates with Alexa through something called an ARN, Amazon Resource Name. So we handle all the trusted communication. You don't have to worry about that. And then we just have to adhere to the ask service interface, which basically means put it in that JSON format. If it's not in that JSON format, you're going to get a funny error that says unknown response. And then what you can do is you can look in Lambda for what you're generating if you're seeing JavaScript errors. Some of you may remember, and it has a renaissance. I've never stopped playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons. So I have a skill. The source for it's out on my GitHub if you want it. It just lets you roll different different dice types. And in Dungeons and Dragons, a 20-sided die, you could say 20-sider, you could say D20, those kind of things. And so what I have, you can see here, I have one intent called dice roll size. And so someone may give a size, and that's dice type, or just roll a size. And then I have both help and cancel. So this is what you saw before for space trivia. This is what it actually looks like for my D&D dice. These are basically functions and events. Now, what's neat is, as Alexa has learned, we've exposed that through the Alexa Skills Kit. So let's say you want to create something with books or movies or calendar or weather, video. She knows all about that now. She knows street addresses. She knows books have publishers and authors, and there's names associated. So she gets all the things, and that is all built in. You don't have to do anything. And then there are also types for all of the programmatic types that you would think of. So for example, let's do dates. If I use an Amazon.date and a human being says tomorrow or 10 years ago today, what would 10 years ago today be? October 14th, 2007, right? You can just say that. You'll actually get the programmatic type that you see there over on the right, but the human being talks to Alexa like a human being. Over time, just more and more things we'll be able to take from spoken language and just send it to you like a programmatic data type. So you can continue to just operate in whatever programming language you want. Now, custom slots, this is a super cool part, is you take and you create your own programmatic class based on spoken utterances. So this, to me, are the Dungeons and Dragons dice types. And by the way, whoever rolled a 100-sider, I did see that. I don't support that. I got that in my logs. I will add 100-sider soon, as soon as I stop traveling. So you can see D4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20. These are just different types, and I've got numbers. And so what's neat about this is you create this custom type, Alexa will try and map to these types for you. So you can always expect a response. And then we have those sample utterances I talked about to train Alexa how these conversations happen. So this is what it looks like in my skill. Dice roll size, roll A, and then in brackets is that dice type. And the dice type is that custom class that we created. So I've got dice. Give me high and yes is just when you put in different words like gibberish like that, what will happen in the language model is she'll know anything that's not appearing with dice type in it, I should send to the dice roll intent. And that's basically what you're seeing here. You're going to get 3 events. Launch request is just when stuff starts. So when you saw us test before and I named it launch request, means Alexa didn't map to any specific programming types for you. So it's just a launch request. Intent request means she did map to something. So if I said roll a 20-sider, she would map to 20-sider as the dice type and send me that. And then session ended request, that's the Alexa stop, Alexa cancel, Alexa shut up. You'll get that event, and then you can handle, storing out data, saving session state, whatever you need. If you're curious, this is what that JSON object looks like. So you can see the SSL. At the bottom there, you can see that's the actual request JSON object that comes from Alexa that you'll parse. This is what it looks like for an intent request. So she's mapped to something. This is the actual JSON object here. So regardless of what language you're using, you would just parse this. There are Java, up on GitHub, there are Java samples, C# samples, Python samples, PHP, JavaScript, Node, you name it. And then remember, when we respond, we want to do something to make her more human-like. So this is SSML that I talked about. We support a whole bunch of different tags. You can do pauses with breaks. Phonemes, by the way, in the English language, there's over 40 different ones. It's how we enunciate things. So like tomato, tomato. So you do have control over phonemes. Especially if it's like a brand name, she may say it funny. So you can change how that happens. You can do cardinal, you can do ordinal numbers. So I could do, cardinal would be like 12,345. Ordinal would be first, second, third, fourth, fifth. Digit would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's a different way to like handle numbers too. You could have her spell things out. So hello is HELLO. And so that's all available for you. A common question is, hey, everything's coming across anonymous because it is anonymous. You don't know who is talking with you. You can, if you have an existing customer relationship, just like in mobile, where you can log in with Twitter, Facebook, or Amazon, you can do the same with your skill. And so when a customer enables a skill, so if I said enable Dungeon Dice, then, well, actually, I don't have account linking, but let's say I did for, purchasing or something like that. You could log in with your credentials. And then moving forward, we know who you are. All right, so let's jump over and actually, remember I said everything's just at developer.amazon.com. So we're going to go there. You could sign up for free, so you would just do a sign in. If you click Alexa, this is where all that information is I talked about. So I'm just going to do a sign in. And I'm going to come up here. I'm going to hit Alexa. Remember, there's 2 SDK types. We're going to do this Alexa Skills Kit. That's the one where we create skills. We're going to go to the top, say Add New Skill. And you can see here I could pick different languages. There's a couple different types. So we could do something for smart home, flash briefings when you get the news in the morning. We could do one for showing video. We're just going to create a custom one. And name, I wonder if she would do IoT. I'll just say the best. I don't know if she'll do IoT. And then we'll say the invocation name is the best. And you can see we pop the guidelines up. A couple other global fields. This is all based on the supported streams that you want to do. So like, do you want to play audio? Do you want to play video? Or do you want to render stuff on a screen? We're just going to say no for all of that. We're just going to keep it simple this morning. So that's good. We're next. Now you can launch our fancy new skill builder here. To save time, I'm just going to do it the developer way and copy paste. All right. So this should look very familiar now. This is an intent like you've seen with the Dungeons and Dragons and the space. So I'm just going to have one color intent, which I tell her my favorite color, and the other one where we ask. And let's also add a cancel intent. This is as easy as it is to add an event. Cancel. And there you go. Let's do a custom slot type. So we need a list of colors. You can see here. And I'm just going to type in some. And we'll add that. And then you'll see it's an array of strings. So this is how we're creating a custom class for a type. And now we need a sample utterance. Copy that over. And save. And then this will build an actual model. And you'll see there's a whole bunch of stuff for questions. And then just saying my favorite color is this. And we're almost out of time. So we're going to build this, run it, and then you'll see it. Now, if you've got a large skill, I remember the Skyscanner folks, Dave Lowe, who built that skill, said sometimes it would take like 10 minutes to build the model. This is a simple one. This is building the language model behind the scenes that we talked about. And we're going to use an endpoint here. It's this one. So this is all live in AWS. And we're not doing any kind of geographical CDNs. We're not linking accounts, and we're not doing anything with permissions to get the device access. Okay, so now we could actually ask a device. I could say, ask the best. What I can do down here is say, what's my favorite color? And you'll see we're getting these real objects. You can see it matched to an intent request. So what's my color intent? She did match on that. And then she's saying, I'm not sure what your favorite color is. I could also just open it and say something like hi, right? Like a person would. And we can also play this.
I'm not sure what your favorite color is. You can say, my favorite color.
Or I can stop, and you'll see we're actually displaying the card. So this is what it would look like on an Echo Show or Fire TV. Now, this is all happening on the Lambda side. So if I wanted to look at CloudWatch, you'll see in real time as those requests came across. So if I go to logs, what did we call it? We called it IoT, right? Here it is, IoT with the best. So you can see here, we're invoking, it's going to always pass in our application skill. If you do a console.log, it'll show up here. Let me show you my, my dungeon dice, actually. Here we go. So you can see somebody rolled the dice today. Let's see what they got. So right here, you can see dice rolled and tie, get dice, and oh, whoever rolled that critical fail, one on the D20. So anyway, you can just parse and do things. Now, let's say you're like, Dave, Echo's not out in my country yet. Thanks for that, right? And you just want to code skills for people who do have Echoes. We have this cool tool. You go to echosim.com Okay, you just log in with that same developer account, and you now have an Echo, and it'll run all of your skills. So what do we call it? We called it the best, right? So if I said, open the best.
Welcome IoT with the best to the Alexa Skills Kit sample.
Stop. Okay, so now I've got a full working Echo. I have the ability to look at logs, and I have the ability to take and see all my service requests. So just in doing that, you have the ability to go ahead and create a voice experience, start kicking the tires, start getting your, oops, let me get rid of that red line. Just start getting your hands into what it feels like to build this voice-driven experience with Alexa. And everything I've shown you today is free to sign up and free to try. We're at the end for time. My contact info is on the screen, so look me up on Twitter at @theDaveDev. You can shoot me emails, Isbitski@Amazon.com. And again, there's a podcast if you so choose. Thank you, everyone, for joining today, and I hope that you all enjoy the rest of the conference.